Hello and welcome back to Seconds Out. My name is Ayman Khan, here with Matchroom Boxing's Frank Smith. Pulled him away from his holiday just as he's about to board his plane. Frank, sir, how you doing?
All good, mate. All good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. All the better for speaking to you. If we just rewind a little bit, look, brilliant weekend for boxing in general, brilliant week for Lee Wood too, reclaiming his title, and a lot on the horizon for Lee Wood in terms of fights in the future.
Yeah, look, as you say, a great weekend for British boxing. Lee Wood, obviously, retaining his belt, winning it back, doing what many people thought he couldn't do against Maurizio Lara. Brilliant performance for 12 rounds. And he believed in himself. And, you have to show a lot of respect to him because, like I say, no one else would have taken that challenge straight back in, get in the ring against a puncher like Maurizio Lara, especially with the things that happened on Fight Week around the weight. We made sure it was safe. But at the same time, Lee Wood had it all stacked against him. And I think, that Lara was the favourite going into that fight, but he showed how tough he is and, his mental toughness as well to come back straight back into that fight after the way the last one ended and do what he did. So great weekend for Lee Wood. And, great weekend for boxing, although the Mick Conlan result didn't go the way maybe we would have hoped for in terms of future fights. It's great to see a sold out arena in Belfast with a terrific crowd as always. And a great crowd in Bournemouth as well for Chris Billam-Smith. And, so happy for him as well because he's such a nice guy. And, there's not many people who deserve it much more than Chris Billam-Smith.
A lot said about the Lee Wood fight going ahead. Does the outcome kind of prove that it was safe in the first place, or have you got to look at it as a whole and identify whether it's safe or not? You mentioned like you judged it was, but there was the conversation about whether it should go ahead in the first place.
I think that was something that as a team. Look, Ben Davison, as he showed in the first fight, has Lee Wood's best interests. He's not going in there for. He'll do the right thing by his fighter. And they made multiple calls that they could track. There was no set rehydration weight. It was just a discussion of making sure that they were comfortable. As the days went on. Not just from the weigh-in. So that was something Ben Davison decided, and we fully support him. I think look. There's a lot of fights that will have a 3 or 4 pound weight discrepancy, especially non-title fights. I think the big thing here is you're going in against someone in Maurizio Lara, who we all know is a massive puncher. He showed that in the first fight. He showed that in multiple fights before. But I think, look, Lee Wood was comfortable with his game plan. He was confident in what he needed to do. And he showed that in the ring. He showed that he knew what he had to do for 12 rounds and he delivered upon it.
Right, then jumping into the latest developments, it appears once again fans are somewhat left empty-handed as we won't be seeing Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua anytime soon. With it being said that AJ has chosen not to take the fight, what is the situation as to why the fight isn't happening once again, Frank?
No, look, I think there's many talks going on in the heavyweight division. There's lots of exciting fights to be made. I said it in a few interviews I did recently where, our plan has always been to fight in August and then to do, as it's been very publicly spoken about, the Deontay Wilder fight in December. That continues to be a plan. You can't in any way say, oh, he's ducking out of it, another fight. We have to focus on Anthony Joshua's career and making the best decisions for his career and the right fights at the right time. It doesn't mean that nothing's impossible in this sport. Anything can happen. But at the same time, we've been working towards this August and December plan for quite a while. And again, it's still not done. Nothing's announced. But that's always been the focus as a team and, for what AJ wants to do. And look, the Deontay Wilder fight, I think the Deontay Wilder fight is a huge fight for boxing. Global fight for the sport, even without a world title. And I'm sure there's still discussions going on around the Usyk against Fury fight as well. Usyk's obviously got to come through the Dubois fight in August. But I'm sure there's still a lot of discussions going on that end. So, we have to focus on Anthony Joshua's career and what's best for Anthony Joshua. So, look, nothing's still 100% set in stone. But, you've seen the various comments. Saw some comments from Frank Warren from TalkSport, but I didn't listen to the interview. But, I think Freddie obviously spoke to them as well. And it's not, Eddie said the same position a few days ago in a few interviews. It's not a fight we're not looking at. But at the same time, we have to do a job for Anthony Joshua. And currently, that's still the focus, still potential fight in August.
You mentioned that nothing is impossible in boxing, and when I hear again about your position in boxing, you're one of the key men to get things over the line. But according to Frank Warren's statement, look, if AJ gets beat against Deontay Wilder, the fight against Tyson Fury doesn't ever happen. How true do you feel that statement is?
Boxing's a, you know, how many people have been beaten over a period of time, and fights have still happened later down the line? If is the comment the same if Tyson Fury gets beat twice by Usyk?
Hmm.
Anything's possible. It's the best fight and the best, and we have to commend all of them for taking. I think I've said quite a few times. There's been so much talking around the fights in the heavyweight division. Let's just see it. Let's just see things play out. Let's let work actually get done in the background, and we go from there, rather than keep talking about it every week and keep throwing out this person doesn't want it, that person doesn't want it. Tyson Fury changes his mind every week as to what he wants to do. One week he's fighting in Australia. One week he's going to fight and go. So, we can all show a narrative that makes sense for us, but the key focus is for us is to deliver the biggest fights and the best fights for Anthony Joshua, and that's what we'll continue to do. But like I say, nothing's set in stone yet.
Yeah, you led me on to nicely to my next question. Where do you feel confidence stands in the public domain of this, in terms of this fight ever getting over the line?
This is what I'm saying. There's so much talk about it. So rather than people talking about it, let's just in the background see how things play out. I also think the public are very excited about the potential of an Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder fight.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive fight. So our focus is to make major fights. They are major fights. Whether it's Fury, whether it's Deontay Wilder, whether it's Fury against Usyk, they're all major fights to be made in the sport. And we are committed to doing that, and that is our focus. And that is what we will work towards. So, I guess from the public and the fans' perception, maybe the faith's gone completely because every week you hear different things. But that's why I'm saying, rather than talking about it, and I know it sort of ruined your job of getting juicy comments in interviews, but it's like try and focus on just delivering something. And again, whether that is Fury Usyk, AJ against Wilder, which I still think, the discussions in Saudi, I still think there's big plans to make that happen. That would be a huge night. So let's see how things play out. And things do take time, especially at the highest level of the sport and in heavyweight boxing. Things take time to make things happen. But like I say, the key is for us is to keep the momentum of Anthony Joshua going. He had a good win in April, showed a lot of improvements, getting back out in August and then December again. A lot of people have complained over the last few years of lack of activity. And the key for us now is delivering activity.
Where do we stand on those AJ Deontay Wilder negotiations?
Still discussions ongoing. Obviously, we've been open. Spent some time in Saudi Arabia to discuss that fight. And there's huge intent to make it happen. But it's still work to be done, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm. A couple of things away from that. Interest in Canelo's next steps with an offer being made from David Benavidez' team, Samson Lukowicz making the offer public. It seemed from his latest statements. Is that the next likely step for Canelo, you believe?
I think Canelo and Eddie Reynoso have been very open around. They'll take any fight. They've always taken any fight, the biggest fights out there. But at the same time, he's been very open about his position of wanting to fight Dimitri Bivol. Eddie Hearn obviously discusses and talks to them very often. So we'll discuss that opportunity with him. But, they're, as we've always seen with them, they're willing to take all challenges. So, I'm sure they'll make the best decision for Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, we'd love that to be as part of one of our shows. But, he's always chasing greatness. And if that means, like he showed with the Caleb Plant fight, to become undisputed, he'll make those decisions. I think we have a great relationship and a great working relationship. And would love, like I say, to continue working with him. And we'll continue those discussions around a potential Bivol fight. Maybe Belanga's another option in time as well for a big fight also.
Conor Benn stands as someone who's looking for a big fight too. Look, Eddie put out the emoji, maybe somewhat playfully after the Chris Eubank Jr. fight was delayed against Liam Smith. Conor Benn's then obviously nudged Chris Eubank, asking him when the fight's going to get made. If not a Jaron Ennis fight, what's the lay of the land for Conor Benn?
Yeah, look, the Chris Eubank fight, quite honestly, there's no hiding from it. It's the biggest fight out there. It's a massive fight to be made for the sport. Both of them want it. Both of them are up for that fight. And maybe that's something we shall see. It's a fight I'd love to make. So fingers crossed. No news just yet, but that's definitely something we're working towards. Conor's willing to take any challenge. He always has, even before this period of his career. He's always wanted to move fast. So he will take on any fighter. He speaks about Jaron Ennis, as you say. That isn't just talk. He would do that. He'd fight any big name out there, and he wants that big opportunity. So, obviously for us, we'd love to make the Eubank Jr. fight, as I say. So let's see.
A lot of conversation about maybe the ethics of making a fight with for Conor Benn whilst the UCAD process is ongoing. A bit of stick there from the boxing public in terms of trying to make fights forward for him. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been very open around the WBC cleared Conor Benn. The WBC were the testing party, and they cleared him of any wrongdoing within that situation. The UCAD situation is separate in the background around potential fight in the UK. But he's been cleared by the WBC. If the WBC wanted to ban it, then it would be a different position. But they decided they had to set their own independent advice and came to a conclusion. The UCAD piece, as I say, is with reference to fighting in the UK in the future. Look, obviously we want Conor Benn's fight in the UK long term. Obviously, it makes sense. But in the short term, we have to do what's right for his career as well. He's been through a long process. He could have dealt with this in many different ways, but he's been through a long process to prove his innocence. He's done that with the party who investigated it, who the tests took place by. The bald situation, the UCAD situation, as I say, it's something we want to deal with, are dealing with. But at the same time, we can't let that stand in the way of, his career at the age he's at.
Final two questions for me, Frank, and I'll let you go and enjoy your holiday. Devin Haney and Regis Prograis, the next fight coming up after Regis Prograis gets through his latest fight.
Look, great fight. Regis Prograis obviously back out June 17th against Zarilla. It's a tough test. A lot of people, it was in a very close fight against Barboza. Going to be a good test for Regis Prograis coming back. I think the Jack Catterall fight is also an interesting one. But yeah, Devin Haney, definitely someone we'd like to bring back to Matchroom. I think that would be a massive fight between the two. And respect to Devin Haney, because he always wants to take on the biggest challenges. We all know the skill and how good Regis Prograis is, but Devin Haney's calling him out. So maybe we'll see him ringside there on June 17th. And that's a big fight for the future. If
the Usyk versus Dubois fight does go ahead, what's the broadcast situation? Is that open for DAZN to bid on broadcasting the fight?
Yeah, we've been having discussions. Obviously, we work closely with Alex Grasser, Igis Klimas, and the Usyk team we have for a long time, the last 4 or 5 years. The broadcast situation is open currently. There's opportunity to work together. And we'll have discussions. We're speaking to DAZN as well and look at what's possible there, because, Alexander Usyk is the heavyweight champion of the world. We've got 3 of the belts, fighting Daniel Dubois, brilliant British fighter. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest, and definitely something we'd look at.